Hello, everyone. We're here with the Man United Agenda reaction show. This one is going to be good. Before I go into the task of mentioning my honoured guest, I just want to bring a second result concerning Manchester United to you this evening. Manchester United women have beaten Arsenal women away 1-0 in the WSL. So big
That's
up
massive.
to our women's team.
That's massive.
Well done, ladies.
No,
That's a huge result. That's a good team too.
absolutely.
That's a really good Arsenal team.
I'm, of course, joined by our panelist across the water, Yank Talking Smack, a.k.a. Connor. How are you doing, buddy?
Absolutely chuffed after that win.
And above him is the main man, as OMONDI called him, the super sub yesterday. SHAH, welcome back again today.
Hey, how's everyone okay? Good result?
Absolutely, absolutely. I suppose before we get into the nitty-gritty of it all, is there any moment over the entire game that really stuck out with you? I'll start with you, SHAH. Just any moment that comes to mind off the top of your head.
Literally De Gea, I think. I think De Gea's moments in the first half, all 25-7 million of them that we faced. he done fantastic, but the moment when he took that one straight, just point blank range, was just a key moment for me that I thought, you know what? Without him, we would have been buried in so many first halves and not have anything to go after in the second half. And for that is like one of the key moments that I think on the few occasions, personally.
Absolutely. And Yank, what about you? Any big moment just off the top of your head from the entire game before we delve deeply into this one?
Just for me, I feel like we were kind of still in the second half, very shaky. But then that beautiful pass by Fred to put in Elanga for the first goal, you could tell as soon as that goal went in, we kind of woke up, and you could see our players were a little bit happier, a little bit more excited, a lot more energy once that happened.
Absolutely, absolutely. I suppose pre-match we had the team announcement, and the big thing was that Captain Harry Maguire reserved his spot for the second time on the pine of the bench. Now, is this an indication of Ralph's trust in Lindelof and Varane? Or is it a case that he's kind of going, we're not going to rush you back. We're going to build you back up and reintroduce you when I feel you're ready. Which of the two do you feel it is for ye?
I think it's a little bit of both.
Yeah,
I think he has the trust, but he also doesn't want to rush him.
Gotcha.
I think with Maguire, we've seen him at his best and we've seen him at his worst, really. And I think what he's came back from, red cards, inconsistencies again this season. I think we were really going to see him in a position of probably having to earn Ralph's respect. He hasn't earned it. I think that's the thing, and I think that's why he's being. This is what happens when a new manager comes in. They start choosing the team. Things move about. Today, the armband wasn't handed over to Maguire. I think that's one of the key reasons why you're probably pointing that out. It was handed over to Bruno when he came on. So very interesting.
Well, Bruno did wear it from the start of the game, so he just kept the armband, I suppose, more than had it handed over to him. But then going more deep into this, there was no place for Shaw, Cavani, or Sancho on the matchday squad. Now, we did learn after that the reason for Sancho's absence is due to a family bereavement. So all our thoughts here at the Man United Agenda with Sancho at this time. But the interesting one, we named two goalkeepers on the bench. You would have assumed that given the depth of talent, that it would have even been worth mentioning a Lingard or somebody from our more expanded squad than having a second keeper. Is that something that is an indication of departures that are coming in the January window?
Lingard was injured, apparently, wasn't he?
But he's available for the weekend, apparently.
He had a knock on his ankle.
But surely, beyond all
I
the
know
other
what you
players
mean.
that we
Short
have,
tire. You're thinking about short tire, right, Rebel?
yes,
I think it's more that, for me at least, is he's not going to bring up the academy players yet, because the only one that's really truly impressed him so far is Elanga, who's now, as we've seen, has gone from kind of getting minutes, being told by Ralph that he has he's been very impressed, and now he's started 2 games and scored in one of them. So I think he doesn't have the trust that Ole did in the academy players to bring them up yet. But I think once, he's here for a little bit longer, he starts seeing the academy players play, possibly going down to a couple academy matches and at least having somebody watch him from the first team coaching staff. You'll probably start seeing Fernandez, Shola, Ahmad all start to come up and start getting minutes if they don't get loaned out.
but surely the derivative of risk would have been low in the circumstances, given the fact that he named a second keeper. It was unlikely that you were ever going to call in 2 keepers during the course of a 90-minute game. So it would have been worthy of having one of them on the bench, just in case the opportunity arose, to give them a chance in the field, rather than give it to a second keeper, surely.
I can agree with that, yeah.
100%.
Moving on to the game then, the first half. We had what looked like a constant fluid motion between 4-2-3 and 4-2-3-1. However, things just did not seem to go well for us. We saw a few errors from McTominay early going. We had fouls on Ronaldo. But I think the big point that I noticed was the tempo of the Brentford team. They were hungrier, they were quicker. And even though we had more of the ball, we were absolutely like a blunt spoon in our attack, evidenced by the fact that we had 0 shots on target. Talk to me about the first half. I'm going to give it to you first, if you don't mind.
Yeah, no, I think first half, it was a lot of, you kind of would call it empty possession. A lot of having the ball, we were nearly 70% possession that half, and at one point it was 76% possession in the last 10 minutes at one point. A lot of kind of empty possession, a lot of passing the ball around midfield and kind of around the back with nothing really ending up happening. We had 2 shots, I think, going into the half with like 65% possession. That shouldn't be something as a United squad or as fans we should be ever happy with. And obviously Ralph got on their butts at halftime and said this is unacceptable, and they changed it around, but definitely very lazy the first half with trying to really get in and get chances.
Absolutely. And I'm actually going to throw you a Ralph quote there just to aid you in your discussion of the first half. We had not a strong conversation at halftime, but we had to change a few things. First half, we were sloppy passing, not strong enough in the 50-50s. SHAH.
Yeah.
I think 100%. I think we could all see it. The amount of times you see Fred getting picked off, sloppy little. We're not winning the second ball. Challenging, we were getting out challenged, out muscled. When they were closing, there was points when there were 3-4 players around one. The first half. I remember when Tellez ran up the pitch, he had to cut back because he only had Greenwood, but obviously Greenwood was on the other side of the wing, and Tellez had 4 players in front of him when he got fouled.
Absolutely.
So, I think Bath Time pointed it out in the comments there as well about them being gassed out. I think they gave, 45 minutes real hard graft, and they really showed us what they are capable of within their engine. But if they had a better engine, so we probably would have given us a lot more problems in the second half. But I think this is what happens when you do fail to score. You then become desperate to try and nick it again, and they just overexert it.
Mr. B's right. The ref did awful today too.
Yeah, awful.
Now, I suppose just to kind of sum up Brighton in the first half, what we saw was disciplined performance. They carried out their instructions to the T. They set a tone very early against Manchester United, frustrating us and establishing lots of pressure. Obviously evidenced by, again, I'll reiterate the point, United not having a single blessed shot on target. And the most worrying stat of all, and I'm going to come to both of you on this one, is at the end of the first half, De Gea's season total for saves now stands at 77. He had 3 in the first half. This is the most of any Premier League keeper. That has to be a worrying stat for a team that has ambitions of being a top 4 and ultimately a Premier League winning club when they get themselves in order. That's Sunderland level shots on target from the days of Mingele. What's your thoughts behind that?
I mean, go ahead, Shah.
Yeah, go ahead, Leanne.
I was going to say, listen, for our keeper to be exposed to that amount of shots, this midway point in the season, we're just over the midway point now, is absolutely ridiculous, and that's why we are where we are in the table, in our performances, and without De Gea, we probably would have been in a lot worse situation, personally. So I'm not happy about it, and before we started this particular show, Rebel, I said it's still not good enough. These performances, although we're winning, we're scoring tapping goals to a team that's absolutely gassed. If that team was at that performance that we saw in the first 45 minutes, in the second 45 minutes, De Gea would have had to make another incredible amount of saves to keep us in the game.
Absolutely. And Leanne, before I throw it over to you, there's another stat I want to give you to feed into your reaction. In one stage during the first half, we had a 20 pass phase of play, and not one of them was progressive or could be described as forward. Given the ambition of setting a tempo and being progressive in our passing that Ranieri dictated when he came here, how worrying is that for you in the first half that we were so flat in our passing?
I mean, it has to be worrying. You have to be. I mean, and with De Gea, I hate Simon Stone. I'll set it off and say that first and foremost. But he made a very good point. When De Gea is in Player of the Year form, it's worrying for the rest of the team. It's really worrying how that reflects on the rest of the team. But I think us not being able to pass well, it's great if we're able to pass and keep possession like we did. But when that possession leads to nothing, it's worrying because it shows that, we're kind of having to rely. It's kind of like last year, we had to rely on a lot of individual brilliance and a lot of snatch and go moments. And even at the beginning of this year, we had to do a lot of snatch and go moments. So not being able to put passes together in someone else's side of the pitch, it's worrying because it means that it's really going to be difficult for us to score. And if we can't do that against Brentford, what are we going to do against the bigger teams?
Absolutely. And I suppose, similar to the referee, I'm going to blow half time here, give you a water break, and go through some of the wonderful comments from our supporters. Firstly, a big hello to Mark Carl, Mark Edmund, Bat Time, TalkMU, and Mr. B, our wonderful commentators from the Watch Along. Thank you very much for such an enjoyable stream there today. Matthew Bassett, good evening to you, sir. And I think we also have one more. No, that is everyone. But let's just go through some of your comments. First, Mark wants to know, have we talked about Maguire yet? No, we haven't. That is coming up. Bat Time says, David De Gea did well at shot stopping, but the age-old issue of his distribution, inviting pressure, came up again, even if this match he did 2 passes that were decent. Interesting point there regarding David De Gea and possibly whether or not that is affecting our play from the back. Again, with Bat Time here, to be fair, Brentford gassed themselves out in the first half, but should have been 2 or 3 up. That is something that we were rather fortunate with. David De Gea being immense and being the Spanish wall for us absolutely did help us. And then let's have one more look. I think I saw one from Mark Carr. Let's be honest, we were dead and buried by halftime. Only poor finishing and De Gea saved us. Fair summation from the commenters?
Yeah.
But
we've all watched it now, and I think we can all agree, right? If it wasn't for the good saves, we would have been in a different situation.
Absolutely. Yeah. I suppose before we get into the positive stuff, and that was the 3 goals, including Marcus Rashford breaking his drought in front of goal, let's talk about the introduction of Harry Maguire. Obviously, we were 2-0 up at the time, and Ralph said, it's time to change tactics, see out the game, take a clean sheet. How do you feel about De Gea and, I suppose, Arsene, not De Gea, Maguire and his impact on that goal that we conceded? Yank.
I mean, I was calling for it in the comments, and I'm not even going to say, try and hide from it. I called for Maguire to come on at halftime. I said that he should have come on for Lindelof. I was scared because, honestly, I thought our biggest weakness defensively was that Lindelof was so terrible in the air and so terrible physically that Toney was going to dominate him. And a lot of the first half he did. But when Maguire came on, it kind of was like, well, okay, never mind. Let's keep him off the pitch, because Maguire has just, I don't know what it is with him, just has not been able to find the form he was in last year. Just seems to be kind of lost at some points. But definitely a very bad performance from him in the little time he did have.
Absolutely. SHAH, any feelings on Maguire and his performance today?
Look, we need these players fit. If something happens to Varane, buys an African in the African Cup, obviously Lindelof, if these guys get injured, we've got problems again. So I can see why Ralph needed to give him the minutes. We were 3-0 up. I just don't think that Maguire...
Just to clarify, I think it was 2-0.
Was it at 2-0 up?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So at 2-0 up, I think that, whatever decision Ralph had has probably came into minutes, thinking that he needs to see out the game, try and get a clean sheet, and then obviously the mistakes and then the direction. There was a point when, I don't know if you remember, the cross coming over and Tellez headed it away.
Absolutely just threw his body in front of it.
And he looked at, and they were both next to each other, right? And he looked, as he was walking by, he looked at Maguire, gave him the eye, like, and then Maguire's like, and then he put his hand out, so he just had to go from an awkward stare to like a quick high five. But you could see the stare was like, I've just shouted out to you, like. So obviously there's another transition in communication, playing alongside each other again. So I think it was inevitable that we're probably going to let one in after the pressure that was given from Brentford in that last 10 minutes, 15 minutes.
Yeah, Fred, I think, was absolutely saved by that assist. Besides that, I think he was terrible, to be honest.
Absolutely. I just want to say a quick hello to a few more that have joined us there in the comments, and they're all biting on the Maguire issue. Hello to Garrett Shotton, to Melina. How we doing? Arctic Man, welcome along. And of course, our very own Mr. B is ferreting through the comments as well for us and doing a sterling job in handling all the queries. Now, let's get on to the positive stuff. We've been very negative in what happened so far.
We are, definitely.
Our young stars, ably assisted by Bruno for 2 of the goals, really came of age today. And I want to talk about this Elanga goal first. Did you see, number one, the absolute quality of control for him, that he bopped the ball up to get the header? Is that sign of a player playing beyond his years, to show that level of calm, cool collectedness in front of the goal with a keeper coming out on top of him?
I've been watching Elanga in the academy since Tahit Chong kind of has been put out on loan. Elanga started taking up that left wing position a lot. Obviously, Damari Mella as well, he's out on loan. So there's a lot of players that are just in this position that we've got. Now, watching Elanga come through that academy into the first team over this last 2 years, you see these boys, because they're academy players, become men. And the evolution of Elanga, you can see through his own distribution of his post, his mindset when he plays for Sweden, when he plays for the academy. He's only got like elitist mentality, hungry as hell. Like every game that I watch him, I think, listen, this is the kind of player and heart, like heart and passion that he plays with. It's fantastic. Honestly, that's what Man United are about. And one just quick thing before I do wrap up my little bit here is just that we had 3 academy players and they've all come through that same system.
They've all scored.
That's just something that we forget about, that, you know, that these lads are our own, and, you know, we're Man United and we'll never die, whatever happens.
Just before we move on, I'm going to throw the other 2 goals to you, Yank. But before I do, I'm going to give some stats. Manchester United, 57% possession, 13 goal attempts, 5 of which were on target, 2 off target, 6 block shots. We had 8 free kicks, 9 corner kicks, no offsides, 8 throw-ins, 7 saves, 9 fouls, 517 passes, 412 completed, 19 tackles, and 58 attacks that were considered dangerous. But I want to give you that Rashford and Greenwood goal to talk about, Yank, and give us your feelings on the play and the build up to those goals.
I mean, first of all, I'm a McTominay fan, so I'm going to run through his stats real quick because it just shows how phenomenal he was, and it kind of relates to the 2 goals. But 68 touches, 90% pass completion with 43 passes, 11 possession recoveries, 9 duels, 5 out of 6 on his take-ons, 4 clearances, 2 interceptions, and 2 tackles, 1. I feel like that's a very good stat line from him. And it's going to go unmentioned there, but the 2 goals, honestly, and I said this right after the game, De Gea kept us in the game, right, first half. McTominay started our attack for almost every single goal. And Bruno was the one to finally put the final piece together to give us the assist for the 2 goals that went in the final 2. But without McTominay, those 2 goals don't happen. The second and third goal don't happen at all without him. He makes the pass that Ronaldo chests on and gives us the goal for Greenwood. And then he's the guy who hits Bruno, who's able to just tap it forward to Rashford, who gets the goal. I mean, for me, I think it's going to go unnoticed, but he was absolutely top class. He was our best player on the pitch today. I really think that you can't argue with McTominay and how well he was today.
Fair dues.
But second goal, I think it was brilliant all around. Like I said, McTominay, who's been criticized for his bad passing, his non-ability to get the ball forward, makes a good pass up to Ronaldo. Ronaldo being, honestly, I think one of, if not the best to ever play the game of football. Makes a brilliant chest pass, knocks it forward for really a brilliant 2-on-1. And I love, and I hope Greenwood takes account of what happened. Bruno being very unselfish, laying the ball off to Greenwood for an easy goal for him. And I hope Greenwood, with how he's been a little bit greedy this year, takes that in his head and goes, he made the pass instead of trying to shoot, and we scored an easy goal. I need to start doing that as well when I get in those positions instead of trying to take it on.
That's why Bruno did it.
I think that's it. And I think the third goal, I don't think it was an amazing goal. I think it was a good goal. Again, McTominay with a great pass to Bruno up to Rashford, and Rashford honestly kind of just does what he does, which is slashes it into the top of the net and finally breaks his duck. For me, that goal is more of a happy, heartfelt goal because I'm so pleased for Rashford. He's been getting all the criticism after being a very good player for us, and I think a lot of people diss him for the last 2 years, but he's been a lot better than people think he was the last 2 years. And finally breaks his duck, and I'm going to say this now. Your apologies better be as loud as your criticism was.
Absolutely.
Anybody who wants to try and jump back on the Rashford train, your apologies better be just as loud as your criticism was. Because anybody who is the actual United fan and loves Rashford knew that he was going to break the duck eventually. And he did.
Can I just also mention, just in the build-up to that second goal, talk about quality of moving that ball by Ronaldo off his chest into the path of Bruno and for the run that he made. That was absolutely spectacular. And as you said,
United, wasn't it, Rebel? That was like Man United, old school.
It was pure throwback counterattack. I was looking at Rooney, Tevez, and Ronaldo when I was looking at that little run of play.
And as you said, constantly aware of the positioning of Mason Greenwood. And if we look back to a game where Rashford and Greenwood were involved, it was a game of the 2 goals that could have been if they just done what Bruno did and squared the ball. So hopefully that will be a learning lesson for these 2 young players, and that they will use the option of the pass first.
Yeah, man.
But before we come to your man of the matches, there's a couple of quotes we want to bring you from the post-match. Firstly, Elanga. He spoke of his admiration for his boss, Ralph Rangnick, and he says, as long as you put the work in training and train as you play, you will get your chances. So very much a sobering thought from such a young player. And a second quote from Ralph's post-match press conference, talking about Ronaldo's substitution, because obviously we did see a rather frustrated-looking Ronaldo when he was taken off for Harry Maguire. This is normal for a striker. He wants to score goals, but we went 2-0 up, and I said it was the right time to make the switch. And Ronaldo did acknowledge later on in the game that the boss had made the right call. But Yank, I believe you have one quote from the Brentford manager you wanted to bring to the people here today. Take it away.
Yeah, he kept digging himself a deeper hole as well. He goes, they're unbelievably lucky. I know all the crap about taking chances. They changed the system against little Brentford. We are the smallest club in the Prem. Manchester United the biggest. We destroyed them in the first half. They didn't have a sniff. The way we smashed them in the first half was fantastic. So proud of my team. He then goes, and this is what really sets a fire under me. He goes, maximum they deserved was a draw. I think they're unbelievably lucky. They, in reference to United, didn't have a chance before their first goal. That's why they paid $72 million for Sancho, who wasn't even in the team. And that's what sets me ablaze, because there's no reason to be an absolute about and bring up Sancho when everybody knows that he was gone because of a family member passing. That is so unbelievably unacceptable. And I really hope there's a little bit of a fine going his way. And he's earned my spot as being my least favorite manager in the entire Prem right now. Disgusting.
Strong words indeed there, Yang. Just to remind anyone that's just joined the chat, there was a second Manchester United team playing today, and that was the Manchester United women's team, and they got a 1-0 victory away against the Arsenal ladies team today. So
Top
very
team in the
much
league, right?
well deserved to the Manchester United women's team for that victory today. But we've come to the important part. We know what BT gives the man of the match. That was Dallo. But SHAH, I'm going to come to you first. Your man of the match and why?
I am personally going to say Dallo as well. I think McTominay had a good game, but we've seen these performances over the last 3-4 matches from McTominay, where he's being very consistent, attacking, holding that central midfield. You know, in the Premier League fixtures that he's played, it was only because he had a yellow card and he got his match suspension that we didn't see him. So for me, Dallo is the player that I think actually deserves a lot of credit today. He covered that wing like an old school Gary Neville kind of energy, drive, passion, putting some balls in, winning stuff, wanting to shoot, hunger, a desire, wanting to have that spot. He wants to be the first team, the first right back that goes down on that sheet.
Absolutely. And
100%, and he showed it. He showed why he wanted it today. I think his positioning play as well. So, where he was to help cover Varane, him and Varane play very nice together as well, I think. And also Lindelof, there was transition periods when he had to play with one or the other next to him, and he slotted in nicely. Whereas when I see Wan-Bissaka, if he's not playing with someone he doesn't know, he gets a little bit lost. And same with Shaw sometimes as well. So I think all in all, it was a very good performance from Dallo.
okay. Thank you, SHAH. And over to you, Yank.
Yeah, I think honestly, Dalot's not even in my top 4 for man of the match. To be completely honest, I have 4 players ahead of him, clear and above. But I can understand why you have love for Dalot. And I think it's unfair to say McTominay's had 3 or 4 games exactly like this, and that's why he shouldn't be man of the match. That should be even more reason that he's deserving of man of the match. If he's doing this now consistently 3-4 games, isn't that what we've been asking for in the midfield? Consistent, high-level play. So why shouldn't we be rewarding him with man of the match? And I even voted for the man of the match myself, and it was going to other players. And I'm like, can we not pay attention? I'm going to quote Rio. I'm going to quote Rio here. This is a direct quote from Rio. McTominay, for me, was man of the match. Head and shoulders above everybody. Integral with how Man United played today. And he's absolutely right. Without McTominay in the center of the park, it's a completely different game. And we saw what happened when Matic came on. I don't care if it was already 3-1. We're kind of resting back and not really needing to score. We saw the difference between when McTominay was on versus Matic when he came on because McTominay took a knock.
Absolutely. So we have one for Diego Dalot by SHAH, and we have one for Scotty Mac from Connor, aka Yank Talking Smack. So I guess that leaves me with the casting vote then. Thanks very much, lads. I do want to highlight the passing of Tellez. I thought his distribution of the ball was brilliant today. Obviously, we have to credit the scorers, Elanga, Greenwood, and Rashford. Bruno for the assists. Fred for his ball for one of the goals, and Ronaldo for the way that he skillfully laid off the ball into Bruno's hat. I did think Diego had a good game. He did clear up the back post quite a number of times. However, I am going to have to side with Rio and Yank on this one and give it to Scotty Mac. I think overall, on the balance of play, he was our best player on the pitch, despite his slow start in the first half when he did have a few early errors. But that overall was because of team pressure rather than anything that he individually did. So, man of the match in a vote of 2-1, Scotty McTominay. And Bat Time is probably going to be celebrating the chat because he doesn't have our boss Solo voting for Fred. He doesn't have OMONDI voting for Maguire. So, big Scotty Mac, man of the match. So, just to sum up, Manchester United with a great victory and 3 points. Hopefully, we're back on the road and we're going to get a couple of more 3 points and challenge for that top 4 position. The Manchester United agenda will be back tomorrow with another show at 8 p.m. We'll be doing a preview show for the West Ham game on Friday. And of course, Mr. Beast Takeaway will also be back with us at 10 p.m. on Friday. So make sure you are hitting that notification bell to be notified of when all those shows are going live. But for us for tonight, I want to say a big thank you to all of you for joining us, to my guests, SHAH and Yank. But we will be signing out. Glory, glory, Man United.
Maxos.